Mercury and PCB. He couldn't remember what the letters stood for, but it was poison. In school, he'd tutored Poe in math, though even now he wasn't sure why Poe was friends with him. Isaac English and his older sister were the two smartest kids in town, the whole valley probably. The sister had gone to Yale. A rising tide, Isaac had hoped, that might lift him as well. He'd looked up to his sister most of his life, but she'd found a new place, had a husband in Connecticut that neither Isaac nor his father had met. "You're doing fine alone," he thought. "The kid needs to be less bitter. Soon he'll hit California, easy winters and the warmth of his own desert. A year to get residency and apply to school. Astrophysics, Lawrence Livermore, Keck Observatory, and the Very Large Array." Listen to yourself. Does any of that still make sense? Outside the town, it got rural again, and he decided to walk the trails to Poe's house instead of taking the road. He climbed steadily along. He knew the woods as well as an old poacher, kept notebooks of drawings he'd made of birds and other animals, though mostly it was birds. Half the weight of his pack was notebooks. He liked being outside. He wondered if that was because there were no people, but he hoped not. It was lucky growing up in a place like this, because in a city, he didn't know. His mind was like a train where you couldn't control the speed. Give it a track and direction, or it cracks up. The human condition put names to everything: bloodroot, rock flower, whippoorwill, tulip, bitternut hackberry, shagbark and pin oak, locust and kingnut. Plenty to keep your mind busy. Meanwhile, right over your head, a thin blue sky. Sea clear to outer space, the last great mystery. Same distance to Pittsburgh, couple miles of air and then 400 below zero, a fragile blanket. Pure luck. Odds are you shouldn't be alive. Think about that, Watson. Can't say it in public or they'll put you in a straitjacket. Except eventually, the luck runs out. Your sun turns into a red giant, and the earth is burned whole. Giveth and taketh away. The entire human race would have to move before that happened, and only the physicists could figure out how. They were the ones who would save people. Of course, by then he'd be long dead, but at least he'd have made his contribution. Being dead didn't excuse your responsibility to the ones still alive. If there was anything he was sure of, it was that. Poe lived at the top of a dirt road in a double-wide trailer that sat, like many houses outside town, on a large tract of woodland. 80 acres in this case, a frontier sort of feeling, a feeling of being the last man on earth, protected by all the green hills and hollows. There was a muddy four-wheeler sitting in the yard near Poe's old Camaro, its $3,000 paint job and blown transmission. Metal sheds in various states of collapse, a No. 3 Dale Earnhardt flag pinned across one of them, a wooden game pole for hanging deer. Poe was sitting at the top of the hill looking out toward the river from his folding chair. If you could find a way to pay your mortgage, people always said, it was like living on God's back acre. The whole town thought Poe would go to college to keep playing ball. Not exactly Big Ten material, but good enough for somewhere. Only 2 years later, here he was, living in his mother's trailer, sitting in the yard and looking like he intended to cut firewood. This week or maybe next. A year older than Isaac, his glory days already past. A dozen empty beer cans at his feet. He was tall and broad and square-headed, and at 240 pounds, more than twice the size of Isaac. When he saw him, Poe said, "Getting rid of you for good, huh?" "Hide your tears," Isaac told him. He looked around. "Where's your bag?" It was a relief to see Poe, a distraction from the stolen money in his pocket. Poe grinned and sipped his beer. He hadn't showered in days. He'd been laid off when the town hardware store cut its hours and was putting off applying to Walmart as long as possible. "As far as coming along, you know I've got all this stuff to take care of." He waved his arm generally at the rolling hills and woods in the distance. "No time for your little caper.